Ukraine's central regions, Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk, have come under what officials have described as a massive attack with explosions and strikes. Local officials say that at least one person has been killed, 24 others injured, several buildings, homes, businesses has been destroyed. It is the second successive night that Dnipropetrovsk have been targeted. The region is also facing attacks from Russian ground forces. Our correspondent Katie Watson is in the Kyiv with the latest. Overnight here in Kyiv, air raid sirens went off late last night. They were in place until early this morning. They ended and they started again. In fact, most of the country was warned by drones and missile threats overnight. But as you said, it was central and the southeastern parts of Ukraine that really bore the brunt of the strike. So Zaporizhzhia was at least one person has died, several injured, but the rescue workers and emergency services are trying to put out fires on damaged houses. And it's reported that 25,000 people are without power after those strikes. And in Dnipropetrovsk, as you said, a second night of strikes on cities there are, and it comes after just a few days after key knowledge that Russian troops on the ground had entered some settlements in the region in what they call the first large-scale attack in the region, because of course it's not one of the regions that Russia claims as its own territory. So clearly, it's difficult on the ground. We have had airstrikes as well. The President Zelensky has commended these latest attacks, saying that Russia once again shows its utter disregard of words and recounts on real action, accusing Russia of preparing these strikes instead of preparing for a leader meeting to try and end the war. Jack, we heard from yesterday that the White House that Donald Trump is apparently still pursuing his idea of one-on-one meeting between Putin and Zelensky, and we have timescales imposed by Donald Trump nearly up when it comes to things like ceasefire and peace talks. What do you make of where things stand on the diplomatic front right now? Yeah, so Donald Trump imposed a 2-week of to-hold deadline. In fact, President Zelensky was asked about this yesterday after a briefing, and he said that the deadline expires on Monday and will be reminding people. But there have been several deadlines imposed. Those have passed. This is a flurry of preliminary talks. We've heard that, Russia. We've seen you make continue the attack here and make the cost strikes in Ukraine. So clearly, there doesn't seem to be an appetite to end the fighting. In fact, Russia has said they will continue to strike, especially on the energy infrastructure and the military targets, because that will try to slow the Ukraine's response. It doesn't look like there's any appetite to sit down, certainly on Russia's side of things. They've said we've heard surgery level 2, then unless the agenda, then they're not going to sit down. President Zelensky has made it clear that it's needed, and he's prepared for that. But that doesn't look likely if that's going to happen anytime soon, despite Donald Trump's initial promises of the leaders' meeting and promises that he can, help end the war. Thanks to Katie for saying that.